Hey, what is up, ladies and gentlemen? I'm Piglet here once again, and I'm back for some more yet again for the likes of the Maxi Toys videos. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to more Let's Play of Rabbids Go Home for the Nintendo Wii/Nintendo DS. So, last time we actually did manage to completely done with everything but the forms of in Area 2, and now we're going to be continue on, and we're about to be jump into the next area of the entirety of the game, and that way we can able to move along to the forms of Area 3. So, before you start the forms of Area 3 actually, it's the fact that as you expected, as you can probably guys can clearly tell, I'm going to be going after every single stuff in across the actual town, and then once I've done so, then I can pretty sure I can able to actually find the actual entrance to the forms of the level select and stuff like that. So, things can get able to be worked out pretty nicely and stuff like that, especially noticeable that so far I didn't get a first step of the playthrough so far. Well, up until later on, until when it gets to like Area 3 and onwards, just because, well, you know how the fact that with the forms of the first two areas are extremely easy, just because, you know, just to get used to how the game mechanics looks like, and especially noticeable with, you know, just essentially you're gonna have to like deal with the easier challenge. But until we get to later on throughout the game, you probably expect to have the fact that the difficulty will start to increase up tremendously. Well, I won't say that much, you know, tremendously, but just a little bit, or in this case, a small portion of the difficulty, I might add. But anyways, oh god, we got ourselves this particular bomb counterpulse to deal with right here first. See, Fernando, we might as well deal with that. Missed aim, but I'm presuming that we need to able to actually use the slide until we're able to actually reach higher enough to able to actually count as a hit or something. So, boop, there he goes. So that way we can get more stuff from there, but I don't know how I was gonna get there. Well, other than the fact that with the forms of the actual super boost I need to perform, but perhaps maybe I'll do that in a later time though, just to be curious about that. So anyways, now the yellow arrow is going to be pointed at, specifically onto here. Although, to be fair, I'm not exactly sure you can able to actually, it doesn't matter what entrance you're gonna go to at this point. I mean, I'm most likely gonna have to follow the actual game tells you to able to go to. So, either way, I'm just gonna do it that method. Alright, so let's see what levels are we going to be doing with here. Oh, only 4 levels we can able to do at the moment, which are, well, 2 of them from the bottom and 2 from the second row, and only 1 from whenever you get to like 10,000 feet. So even then, let's go with the first level in the forms of in Area 3, a Tonic Rapid Blast. So, yeah, let's get this thing started. And I can assume this might actually take place in, well, we'll get to that as soon as we're able to actually jump into this level immediately. So, and I believe from the start, we actually start things off with an elevator and stuff. So yeah, that's a little bit of a nice change. And before you notice, is the fact that this level's gimmick is the fact that everything else in the entirety of the room is now dark. So, the only way we can able to figure out the dark is the fact that we need to able to utilize the special green cube. So even then though, we'll get to that as soon as we get to that. So yeah, with the forms of the actual green tonic or something like that, I can't know exactly what these objects are normally called. You can able to actually use them to able to actually light up everything, as you can see right there. But just like any forms of bulb berry from Super Mario Galaxy 2, that the actual atomic light doesn't last very long, because either way, that it only goes like a 5 seconds time limit or something, or probably less. So, originally, that these little green atomic looking objects, they seem to able to try to harm you, but it wasn't. So even then, you can be perfectly safe, especially noticeable if you really want to light things up, including the forms of these little green atomic sections right there as well. So either way though, it's not too confusing. Well, sometimes it gets pretty confusing if you really don't want to do this you know, a tonic system. But either way, let's go ahead and just figure out what we're supposed to do. In fact, I don't think there's any way we could able to actually just bust out this door with this super speed boost, which I was able to quickly have a look, and turns out it wasn't. So I'm pretty sure in this particular room, or that section, is that we need to able to activate every single switches, and then as a result of that addition, then we would able to actually proceed to the next point of the level. So yeah, you get the idea with that solutions there. So, and since that now we've got ourselves 4 units of health, meaning how the fact that the actual health itself can get pretty easy or what have you this time around though, because I'm presuming if you don't do that, basically it just makes the game even much more tougher. If you really decide to able to do a speedrun tactics or something like that, well, basically it just makes the actual speedrun process of this game can get pretty difficult at times. But anyways though, so yeah, that's as far as I can say about this level's mechanic, about the actual gimmick about this level. All jackpot! So anyways, let's grab these more stuff here, and yeah, today was actually forms of the 14th of November, and he forms if in 2018. So, oh wow, that was really bad for that little placement there. Yeah, today, how the fact of the matter is though, is that we've only got 2 more days until not only Pokepog, what did I say Pokepog? I meant Pokeball controller for the Nintendo Switch is about to be on its way until 2 days left, but also by the forms of Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee editions. So, yeah, not long for now, but either way though, that's as far as how days usually just goes by very, very quick. Especially noticeable how the fact that if you, that if you're really looking forward to something like this, well, I'm still not a huge Pokemon fanatic, I will admit though right away, but either way, that I'm just trying to suggest you by this point, so. Anyway though, let's go ahead and move along and grab more of those stuff, including by the forms of the usage of the forms of the actual tonic goop, or in this case the actual like, object and stuff. And that way we could able to actually see everything around here, so anyways, let's grab this little whole bunch of items. Let's double check on the other side. No, it's just the purpose of the actual blockage of the actual main level. So, alright, so that's all settled in addition to able to get our health back. So naturally speaking, that way we can able to move along. So, yeah, as far as I can say. Another thing is worth mentioning though is the fact that I've seen a whole bunch of some little bit of amount of reviews of the forms of Ralph Breaks the Internet film, and seems more accurately, they did have a, once again, much like in the forms of the first film, they did receive a very positive reviews, which even then is Disney, as you expected. So even then note that every single Disney films always become a huge success in the future years and time. Well, the only exception by the forms of Home on the Range because it's stupid and ridiculous, and especially noticeable with Brother Bear, which I think is kind of unnecessary. Well, the beginning portion's not bad, and especially with the ending, but the middle portion is just that I'm just feel snorefest for most of the time sometimes, but either way. And especially noticeable with, I would say the Black Cauldron, which, yeah, it still is a pretty miserable excuse. Even by the forms of critics didn't like it, and especially with the box office, is a giant, massive failure. So, you guys should probably already know what I'm talking about for this point. So, even then though, despite the fact that in the forms of the Black Cauldron movie, of the Disney film either way, that was the 25th movie, which I think the 25th movie is a bit of a disappointment. And at least in the 35th film by the forms of Hercules, it's actually not bad actually, and especially noticeable with the forms of well, Chicken Little is kind of sucks. I gotta to say that much. So, what's up with any kind of films? Well, Lady and the Tramp, which is the Disney Classics range number 15, is actually very amazing. But why is it every single time, by the forms of like an even number or the even type tenths numbers, has always given ourselves a pretty bad reputation of films so far? I mean, think about for a minute. In the forms of Zootropolis or Zootopia if you lived in North America, that film is also very great as well. And especially noticeable that the forms of Moana as well. So, yeah, it's been great so far when it comes to, like, Disney Classics range so far. Even then, as to be expected and such. But anyways, enough about that. Again, not much else I can really think about, to be honest with you guys, other than how the fact that, well, until it gets to like 3 days time, I've managed to able to decide to get myself the forms of, you know, Spyro United Trilogy, even though how the fact that I know it's been about a few days delay between, you know, Tuesday, or in this case yesterday, and the forms of today, and especially Thursday and Friday coming up, and I might as well able to get that game compilation until this weekend, so, but I still got enough money to be able to actually finally get hands on by the forms of Spyro United Trilogy, even though I haven't really tried out the original trilogy for that yet, and if I manage to complete the original trilogy, much like in the forms of Crash Bandicoot, Wrath of Cortex, I decided to get Enter the Dragonfly on the PlayStation 2, I believe. And even though despite the fact that the Enter the Dragonfly is easily one of the worst games they consist of, and A Hero's Tale, which I think is actually pretty okay, as far as I've noticed on the forms of the actual gameplay footage of it so far. So anyways though, and also I need to be able to get myself the forms of Crash Twinsanity on the original Xbox, so that way I could able to get my experiences of that game again. So, but I don't think I actually hooked up my original Xbox these days, because thankfully though I've managed to able to actually access the backwards compatibility with the forms of the Xbox 360 now. So yeah, I'm really happy about that. So anyway, so let's hop into that elevator very quickly, and it looks like we're almost nearly towards the end, because now we actually got ourselves this particular item that we can probably grab. And before worth mentioning though is the fact that this particular item is actually very unique, and the fact of the matter is though is the fact that you know how the fact that with this particular level itself that it utilized every single room is all in a dark formation. Well, we can able to actually grab the actual object, and then now we can actually see the entirety of the actual sections itself. So even then though, it's kind of like, you know, the light block from Super Mario 3D World, and especially noticeable with the headlight from Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, except that there aren't any ghosts around here, so even then though, that's as far as expected. So, anyways, how dare you smack me from behind? That's a bit ludicrous of you. But anyways though, so anyways, we essentially deal with those 3 human suits and stuff, so that way we could able to move along. So I don't know how you exactly get to the these 2 sections here, although I do know there's some strategy involved with these, but I just don't know what I able to get to this point. So I'm afraid we're going to able to skip that. So even though it's a shame that I could able to actually just try to do that, but either way though, I don't think, nah, you can't backtrack. Because again, in the later levels, things can get pretty linear these days, even by the forms of how the fact that, well, it's still pretty much exploration type, but ultimately, that some of these levels can go pretty linear and stuff, so, well, this reminds me of something almost related to the forms of Clock Face in Super Monkey Ball 2, or in this case, Super Monkey Ball Deluxe, and especially notable with TikTok Clock from Mario Kart DS and Mario Kart 8, and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. So, yeah, you get the idea what the similarities are evident. So, but again, I don't think. Oh, you can. Okay, as far as worth mentioning, but that's just probably you'll think about it. So, yeah, we are essentially done with the actual main level of the actual, you know, what's this level called again? I must have forgot. Oh yeah, Atomic Rapid Blast. So, there we go then. Let's see how much stuff we off by. I think we're off by 36 stuff. But that's okay though, because we did that pretty alright. So even then, yeah, let's just move on to the next level. So, I thought to myself, I might as well able to do the next, well, I might as well do 3 levels of this episode actually, much like the previous video, just because, well, you know, I feel like for this kinds of stuff, and plus you don't have to go and sit through all those loading screens cinematics again. So yeah, you can definitely get the idea because of how the fact that I can now able to skip them. So rules are for tours, which is essentially the next level, and we're now going to be picking up a different object this time, which appears to be a table desktop or something like that. So even then, with a whole bunch of drawers and everything, so that way we can able to actually just install that furniture. And to start things off, we got a whole bunch of paperwork. to able to actually just to get a little bit of a thrill fun ride on it. And we got ourselves this particular obstacle to worry about, and every now and then, that you know how the fact that in every single bomb cannons managed to able to only contains like one hit to able to actually kill those, just destroy these things. Every now and then in the later levels we can now able to actually hit this thing 3 times. So that's what, you know, difficulty we're able to actually increase upwards, especially if you're able to reach to, you know, the later levels and such. But either way though, it's not too much noticeable, I feel like. Alright, so let's dodge these little red fire floaty, or in this case inflatable obstacles here, and we can able to actually move along. Yeah, you know, with the forms of atomic Rabbid's blast level that we did already go through, every now and then we've now actually introduced into ourselves the forms of that, you know, the bottomless pit. So even then though, every time you fall off the bottomless pit on that level, you know, it's instant death, obviously. So, yeah, this is where we have to go ahead and come across into that every nowadays, which, you know, it gets a bit more difficult than later portions of it. Oh, these are my least favorite obstacles we need to worry about. Is the forms of those, you know, inflatable, red, rubbery things. They are extremely dangerous. I will admit though right away is that the hit detection on these things is actually super, well, nerve-wracking, because sometimes I swear I managed to able to actually dodge that just fine, but it's just for some reason that every time whenever I barely touched it, and then I just somehow just got hit for no reason. So yeah, that is by far the most annoying obstacle in the entirety of the game, in my opinion, just because, well, you can easily get yourselves get hit by these things so many flipping times. But either way though, let's just go ahead and move on. So anyway, there's tons of more stuff there, and don't forget to able to feed the forms of the Rabbids Tribona here, and yeah.
Sandra, I need you in my office again.
Okay, so it turns out, just like the ones in the Nick of Time level, is the fact that we do need to utilize the time limit on these kinds of sections, and believe me, that until it gets to later levels throughout in the game, that this is where the difficulty will able to start to increase, just because that if you be very curious, if you really want to get 100% through every single level, well, good luck. Just because of how the fact that if you pretty much waste your time around here, then you're probably not gonna make it. Oh, come on, come on. Oh, so close.
Made me wait.
Ah, oh well, we'll try that one again. Thankfully though, I don't think you do die on these sections, but it's just how the fact that it just gets pretty progressively difficult as you proceed. So, yeah, let's try this again. So, hopefully got better luck this time, because one of the more annoying parts about this level though, I will say that much, is these stupid auto doors sections, because sometimes they either closed off, or in this case, just practically open them. However, here's the thing though, is the fact that I feel like the auto doors, obstacles, they are way too random at times, which I think could be something to do with like the forms of the actual pattern, but there we go, about 0 seconds precise, so there we go. Alright, so let's go ahead and move on, and it looks like we're gonna have to keep on doing with this little, you know, the special boost technique that we always trying to able to on about? Well, we do need to able to deal with it a lot, and especially in this section in particular, so let's just go ahead and do that very, very quickly while we're trying to able to deal with this particular human enemies first, and yeah, that's all I can really think about. Seriously, it does remind me of the forms of Shadow the Hedgehog, where in Shadow the Hedgehog, that if you do a dark mission and stuff, you have to basically kill every single humans, so, or in this case, some gun human soldiers, so it's worth mentioning. So you can also just manage to able to do a special technique that you can simply just take them down so easily by simply we can able to actually perform a speed boost and stuff, and that way you don't have to able to actually see one of those humans get inflated by the actual suit a lot. So naturally speaking, I always attempt to do that just in case if anything else just goes wrong, and even then, yeah, that's what I can really think about. So more jackpots. And before we're able to continue on, I just need to double check if there are any missing items around here. I don't think there aren't any. Well, I missed one so far, but the forms of that, you know, the time limit sections in the forms of like getting over to the forms of those stupid auto doors and stuff, which either way I just found that to be quite difficult sometimes because of the actual pattern and stuff. So anyways, let's go ahead and get more items due to the actual Santa Claus, or in this case Father Christmas person. But either way though, that way we can able to get even more stuff there, so probably gifts and all these goodies and stuff. Speaking of such, we've only got about 41 days left until Christmas, which is, you know, pretty fast, and especially noticeable how quick it was. And yeah, as to be expected and such. So anyways though, let's go all the way around here and get even more stuff from that little ramp. But first need to get these few items from there. What the? Okay, that's a bit odd. Of how the fact that these particular stuff have some little bit of momentum issues there. And so far, I believe we only got about 17 more stuff to go until we reach to the 4 presents mark. So, yeah, that's all I can really think about. So, it's always 30 seconds every time you're actually trying to able to go through these sections, obviously, just because that I kind of wish there was actually more time into it, just in case if out of fact that if you do have enough time to able to actually reach into the forms of other items and stuff, then obviously I wouldn't mind it, but unfortunately though, it's still going to be 30 seconds and stuff. So, but hey, at least I got all this stuff this time, rather than just failing on it completely, and that's all I can really think about. Strangely enough though, every time you fail these particular sections, worth noting for is the fact that they did manage to show a spoiler ending portion of the level itself, which is kind of odd, but I'm guessing because of how the fact that one of the officers or one of these reporters managed to make it there in the nick of time without even sort of delays or something like that. But anyways though, and of course we come across into that specific section again, but this time around though we have to dodge 2 of those hot looking tubes and stuff. So either way, I think this might actually be the final section, and now we get even more time by the forms of 35 seconds. So, but of course with those stupid auto doors just keep getting my way. And also, you know how the fact that with the forms of the actual officer, as you can see right there, how the fact that she's actually riding on the motor scooter and stuff like that, she managed to able to make her way to the forms of bypassing those little 2 different colored doors, especially with the inflatable device. But I don't think I got enough time to able to grab the rest of the items, because screw that, we'll essentially try to able to actually just to get few more stuff here, and especially noticeable that we can get ourselves our tabletop. So even then, or in this case, the actual like you know, the officer desk. So either way, that way we can able to actually finish up the main level. In fact, the main the end of a level is actually after you grab that and then cut to the chase, and we find the out of nowhere end of a level mark right onto that specific wall. So there we go. We are essentially done with everything. Well, still we haven't reached to 1000 stuff yet, unlike any forms of the 3rd level in I was 20 off. But oh well, no big dealio. So anyways, that's about it. And it seems more accurately, we're already at the halfway point, well, almost at the halfway point of Area 3. And speaking of which, we're pretty much almost at the halfway portion of the entirety of the game so far. Like, surely we only got about a few more levels left, and especially noticeable with like, yeah, we're pretty much in the halfway point of it so far. So, and we've unlocked the next few levels here, so even then we might as well do those in the next video, because I think we might as well do one more level. Totally, tub-in, I should say. And this one, we need to able to actually carry this particular inflatable tire. This meaning how the fact that we might actually mention about that as soon as we get into the actual main level itself. So, things can get pretty interesting. Alright, so here we go with this particular level right there, but in forms of, again, totally tap-in. Is the fact, or tap-in I should say, I need to get used to that letter, or that word rather. Basically in this level is the fact that we need to able to ride onto that specific tire object, which we've got that from the get-go. And basically in this level is the fact that well, especially the later level, don't forget. Now, the fact of the matter is, though, is the fact that, as you can see, we haven't got a health bar indicator. So this means, the tire itself is just 1 health point. And then as a result, if anything else bad will happen by the forms of the health, by the forms of the actual tire and stuff, what happens is the fact that if you manage to let the tire pop out of the forms of, like, if you manage to run into the cactuses and stuff, for example, because, cactuses are very sharp and pretty prickly at the same time. What happens is the fact that if you somehow manage to let your tire pops or even especially fall off the actual course, is instant death. So even then, though, you have to be very careful most of the time, and it always kind of reminds me like the forms of the actual buddy forms of Super Monkey Ball and stuff. So even then, except we're rolling on the ball and stuff. So even then, well, at least for monkeys anyway, perhaps for buddy forms of Rabbids and stuff, well, you can still control yourself with the actual trolley, and oh Christ, that was very close. I really need to get up there. I think that's my only concern with this. In fact, there we go. Alright, let's go ahead and... No! Ah, shoot. Well, here's the first death of the playthrough, folks. I know I did try, but either way, though, it's just how the fact of the matter is, though, is that out of all the levels we actually come across into the forms of Rabbids Go Home, these levels are, without a doubt, is the most difficult levels in the entire game, just because, well, you only have, like, 1 health and all that stuff, first of all. And second of all, is the fact that if you really trying to think about trying to able to grab these, every single stuff was bad enough, how the fact of the matter is, though, is that taking notice from the forms of, Melty Monster Galaxy from Super Mario Galaxy 2 in the second mission of the game, or in that specific galaxy, basically that you can't go back for it unless if you manage to able to die continuously and able to actually just, get a checkpoint from there. And as a result, if you really want to get 100% for everything in the forms of this entire level on your first run, well, you need to be absolutely perfect by this, and especially noticeable with these little fences, which, by the way, in order to actually get for 1 fence, especially with your bouncy momentum and stuff, you need to reach out for. You need to shake your Wii remotes on the forms at the right time, because that way, if you manage to do that correctly, then you would able to actually get your momentum going. So that's how it goes, obviously, but either way, though, it does remind me of the forms of the Rock Mario, but the forms of in Super Mario Galaxy 2, but except that we're not exploring through galaxies and stuff. So either way, though, let's just go ahead and get some more stuff from the actual curvy point, and we have to do that and make sure not to fall off to the bottomless pit and stuff, because that Area 3 and especially onwards can get pretty tricky sometimes, just because they're now going to be introducing to ourselves some several bottomless pits all over the place, and especially noticeable with too many objects that we have to avoid. So there we go, we are essentially done with the actual main level, while simply just drop by the forms of the petrol station or something like that rather than this particular, well, the actual locale. So anyways, though, let's see how much stuff we have got. I'm thinking that we off by 4. Jeez, we've gone so far. If only for the fact that if we actually missed a couple of items, then if we manage to grab most of these items, then we should be able to accomplish everything in the entirety of the level. But either way, though, it's a pretty fun level all itself, but it just makes things a little bit tricky. And what makes it weird is the fact that in this cutscene in particular, it still recognizes the forms of that splash effect that's been happening, but the forms of that specific duos of Rabbids there still riding on the trolley and stuff. Either way, though, I'll explain more on that later. But from now on, we have to end things off for this point here. So join me next time on Let's Play Rabbids Go Home. It's the fact that we hopefully will finish up with Area 3. So see you guys then. Later, fellas.